Just a little bit, yeah.
Alrighty, here we go. For all over, I am so honoured and grateful to introduce to you the first panel of the New Zealand Webfest as we kick it all off with master storytellers of twisty tales and unlimited imagination. It's the best of actual play podcast, also known in the Southern Hemisphere as TTRPG. And I am joined by this incredible, amazing crew, which I'm not going to spend my time introducing you because that's just me telling you how much I know about you when you know more about you than I do. So I thought we'd just do around the world, just a little bit of a trip to about yourself, your podcast. Give me an elevator pitch. Let's see if we can get some more listeners onto it. Ted, how about we start with you because you're down south?
Yeah, great. So my name's Ted Darling. I'm from the Book of War podcast. We're based in Melbourne, Australia. Our system is using the Avatar Legends system. And if you haven't guessed by the beautiful map behind me, our show is actually set in the world of Avatar The Last Airbender, the Nickelodeon cartoon from 20 odd years ago. Our show is set 30 years before Aang awakes from the ice. And it's about 4 teenagers traveling across the world, trying to find the Book of War and bring balance to a world without the Avatar. So
okay, did anybody else have a problem when you said 20 years ago?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
That almost wrecked me.
Yeah,
Yes,
That's not okay.
it's a lot of time, but yeah, we have some great our cast members are really passionate about the show. We're all big fans of the show, so we try to do it justice. And yeah, that's the elevator pitch. I don't want to take up too much time, but if you like Avatar, I'm sure we'll have something for you.
What about you, Natalie?
Hello, adventurers. I'm Natalie Fuinha. I am the creative director for the Storyteller Squad. My pronouns are she, her. We are a heartfelt and newly award-winning actual play series that presents high fantasy adventures against the backdrop of a modern Pacific Northwest setting. So it's a little bit like Constantine or Hellboy. But we also infuse it with a lot of cozy slice of life and lo-fi vibes. So we hit those Gravity Falls energies as well. We've been creating our story for about 6 years now. And we do our best through our stories to celebrate and uplift queer and other marginalized voices on our casting, our theming, and all the artwork that we create, which we've been very busy doing this past year. We went from 3 major convention presences in 2024 to doing 11 shows this year.
Wow.
And upgrading our set to include a very immersive forest set for people to come and meet all the friendly cryptids that are on our show. And yeah, we're basically trying to keep up with ourselves at this point and chase whatever opportunities come next. So that's us. We're the Storyteller Squad.
Lovely. And Brian, tell us about My First Dungeon.
Hey, my name is Brian Flaherty. I'm the executive producer of My First Dungeon. We're the tabletop role-playing podcast that helps game masters learn new games and make each one better than the last, which is to say we are an anthology actual play podcast. We play a lot of indie games like Slug Blaster. I'm looking at my shelf. Orbital Blues, Die. And the season that we did this year was the Wildsea, which is you're playing as like mushroom and cactus people sailing on chainsaw-powered ships atop a treetop sea. Really fun, really like high fantasy story. We had a bunch of we really lean into a bunch of like sound design, original music. A lot of that music done by our composer Behold, and also me and fellow panel member Jay Strautman over here from Planet Arcana wrote 6 original tree shanties. Yes, I said tree shanties because this is a forest world, and infused those throughout the series. So it's a high flying, lot of fun.
Oh, fantastic. Jay, Planet Arcana.
Yeah, I'm Jay Strautman. My pronouns are they, them. I am one of the 2 hosts of Planet Arcana alongside my creative partner, B. Marsolier. Planet Arcana is set in a world of humans, androids, and a pantheon of major arcana gods from a tarot deck. And it tells a story of 3 fools on a simple quest to find a key and open a box. It is tarot inspired, obviously. It's science fantasy story, elements of noir, retrofuturism, and absurdity. The show has an entirely original score that is written and produced by myself, and we play a heavily modified version of Dungeons and Dragons in which B and myself co-GM it. We just wrapped our inaugural campaign this year, which started in 2021, and
Well
thank
done.
you, ended on episode 97 just in September.
Yep.
And alongside the finale, we released a custom role-playing game that we've been working on for the past 3 years. There it is. Brian is holding it, called A Fool's Errand, which is based entirely on the world and partially on the story that we told of Planet Arcana.
Wow. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I love this. I love the fact that it's a collaboration within the squares.
Yeah.
RahRah, how about you?
Hey, I'm RahRah. I'm the creator of The Heart is a Dungeon. We're about a month out from our 2-year anniversary of existing. We've won awards for sound design, concept, writing, GM. There's a few. And we also do a little audio drama on the side as a treat. The one we're in this Webfest for, Pleasure in West River, is a 14 episode kind of mystery where they're all one-on-one sessions with 14 different witnesses who also all part of something happen, but none of them have the full picture. So each episode kind of builds and builds and builds. And I made the system for that, so it's nothing I could really name drop. But we tend to do series that range from about 20 something episodes all the way down to 4 in like a recent 10 Candles series we ran. And it's a pleasure to be on a panel with so many amazing creators. We're also part of the Many-Sided Media Network, which Brian, yes, is kind of the boss of a little bit. So on my best behavior. And I want to back up Natalie's convention booth because it is my favorite booth to stop by at conventions because it's just so lovely.
So they're gorgeous. And so I'm kind of feeling sort of like left out down here. You did too.
Yeah, same. It's being this side of the world is a little bit challenging.
Travis and Kaitlin, tell us about Dark Dice.
We are Travis and Kaitlin, and we are Fool and Scholar, and we create Dark Dice.
It's a horror Dungeons and Dragons 5e podcast. We are there to scare you, and we cut it down so it feels like you're in the action with the characters. All the NPCs, you don't want to hear my voice, so we get voice actors for those parts to replace me in post. We add a bunch of sound effects and stuff. Apparently they're pretty okay. We've won an award or 2 for those. And we also have a really immersive soundtrack that we've spent years putting together. We've been working on the show for about 8 years, and we're about to wrap up our 2nd season very soon.
We've already done seasons after that season, but we're just going back to it to finish that story.
The players got married in real life, needed some time, so we do a lot.
And then, it was wonderful for them, and getting to go and celebrate not only friendship but their actual marriage is fantastic. And last year, or actually this year, we kickstarted our first D&D book, and it'll soon be out and available for purchase physically. It's already available PDF version, and it's been a long time in the works.
Last things to say, we also just did our first live show. It was in London. We don't live anywhere near, we're in Germany. It's a bit far away, but we had a lot of fun, and we're co-DMs, so it's a bit different sometimes and fun, always.
Co-DMs here.
Yes.
Fantastic. And Frost and Fur, Kenny, or Fables of Frost and Fur, sorry.
Hi, I'm Kenny, the DM for Fables of Frost and Fur, and I am very, very honored to be here, part of this incredible panel of names that I have been reading about since before I started doing actual plays. So thank you all. I really shouldn't be here. But while I'm here...
It's like, bollocks to that. Come on.
But while I'm here...
All right, everyone gang up on Kenny and tell them how they're supposed to be here. You're supposed to be here.
You belong here.
You belong here.
Thanks, everyone. I'm very proud to be here. Very proud of the work that my team has done. So Fables of Frost and Fur is an immersive, cinematic, narrative-driven adventure through a land of conflicts and fairy tales. It follows the story of 3 intertwined individuals bound by ties, both familial and magical, as they unravel a conspiracy hundreds of years in the making, traveling through a Belle Epoque France-inspired world of prejudice and adversity. We are a show focused on keeping the listener in the moment of the story. Actors completely immersed in the performance, rich soundscape and effects, beautiful music. Every
episode sounds like cinema, and every in-character line, every description by every person at the table contributes to this cinematic immersion. If you love getting lost in the story of actual plays, you will love this. If you've never listened to an actual play in your life and you don't know a thing about Dungeons and Dragons, but you love a good audio drama, you will still love this.
See, I think you've just proven the point that you belong here, Kenny. Absolutely. That's fantastic. Well done. Is this your first panel?
Yes, it is.
Look at that. He's a natural. Actually, I think I find that the actual play podcasters tend to be more naturals with panels because you're so used to jumping in and the improv and, all of a sudden finding your places, and you can take your mics off mute. Guys, let's have a conversation. It's very polite and it's lovely, but you don't have to. We want to hear the laughter. We want to hear the snorts, the sneezes. It's fine. It's not a problem at all. Well, then, how did you all start? That's what I find really interesting. I remember Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid at school, but never to this sort of depth and creativity and audio. I'm an audio nerd. I've been involved in radio all my life, but this is just listening to these podcasts is just phenomenal. Is there anyone want to jump in with their first?
I think I can jump in, not to cut anyone off or anything, but one of the things is that this podcast is actually it's the first podcast that a lot of our cast members have done, and all of our cast members have done, really. And it just comes from a background of really loving TTRPGs, loving the kind of that sort of nerdy subculture of video games and TV shows and books and, fantasy and sci-fi and all that kind of stuff and cartoons, and kind of coalescing that together with improv and just hanging out with friends and playing a game and having a good time. Like when we sort of started this, we really wanted to just create a game that we could listen back to and be proud of. And the fact that it's sort of had a reach and other people enjoy listening to it it's floored us with just how much people love it and support it, which is really, really nice. But for us, it was all about getting started and creating something that we were proud of and that we just wanted to sit around a table and have fun and play together. And I think that's an important part, is just, having that sense of play and enjoying the journey as it were. That's how we got started.
So seen a lot of nods. This is true of everyone?
Yeah.
I
would say
no.
I don't really like fun.
We're on a tight ship.
For Dark Dice, we first started playing for the intention of making a podcast. We already had podcasts at that point in time.
You have to clarify. We were going to do a live show with some people, and we didn't know who they were, what they were like, because we don't meet our actors. We just record remotely. We're like, are these people going to be really weird if we're going to be staying in Airbnb with them? We should probably play D&D and just see that they're cool.
So we used playing Dungeons and Dragons online with them as kind of like the gauge as to whether or not we could all share an Airbnb. It worked out. It worked out really well. And
it worked out so well. Some of them got married.
Wow. Great litmus test. I'm gonna steal that from
it really was. It was one of those things where it's like, if you want to test a relationship, go on a road trip, go to IKEA, or play Dungeons and Dragons. Like, get into the gritty of playing a game with someone, and you kind of see their true colors. And we went in only knowing them in a professional sense, and we came out of this with some of the best friends that we have.
And trauma bonding.
Speaking of, I'll jump in on that. So the Storyteller Squad is sort of a child of 2020. I know we don't like to think about that year, but that's just the missing years.
Yeah,
well, it was a reclaiming of that lost time and sort of a chance to shift career directions, I guess, or artistic direction for me. I'd been GMing sort of casually prior to that and doing a lot of cosplay and convention networking in that realm. But all of that shut down because we couldn't do any of it in person. And so to pass the time, I was part of a group of basically fans of other actual play, and we would have one-shot Sundays, and we would play games together on, every Sunday because nobody was going anywhere. And I got introduced to Monster of the Week, which is the system we use on our show, and just instantly fell in love with the system and how it runs. And like once I read through more of the book after playing that game, it was like, oh, this gels with like how I wish I could prep other systems perfectly. And just decided, well, there's no better time to pick up a litany of new skills than right now. So I'm going to learn audio editing. I'm going to learn, what it takes to host and produce and send out a podcast to the world. And we'll just see what happens. And I picked a bunch of people that I kind of knew. We were not close to start, and we had not had the chance to road trip, but we did have a chance to play and tell a story. And kind of obsess over it because it became the thing all of us cared about for the first 3 months of us playing. While, the only other thing in life was Animal Crossing at the time. And so since the world has come back into full swing and ramped up in multiple ways, it's sort of become the thing that binds us all together still and has been lately, especially in the last year, the thing that I'm, pursuing as both my full-time work and also, our little small form of resistance to, political authoritarianism and all the nasty stuff going on in that sphere of the world, because representation is important. And, I would not say that we are like, hitting anyone over the head with our like, diversity stuff, but we try to do it in a way that just feels normal and, integrated and authentic and, the way that we wish it would be with all media and stories and things like that. And so, that's kind of where we got our start. And then, blood, sweat, and tears and that whole bag to get us where we are today.
Jay, how did you start?
I was just going to say that everyone has very lovely spiritual answers, and I echo those sentiments completely. The only unique thing that I can contribute is that my co-host B, we've been friends since we were 9. And it's been a long time, and I won't say exactly how long. But we bonded quite early on over Final Fantasy VII. We were both no one think about what year that came out. And we were playing it on PlayStation 1, and we would do all the voices for all the characters because, of course, video games didn't have VAs at that point. This is when we were quite young, and since then we've done like myriad creative projects together. But Planet Arcana feels like almost the natural progression of doing voices for Final Fantasy VII, making a show that is very Final Fantasy VII inspired, and now we'd get to do all the voices for it for real.
That's so cool. Kenny, how did you get your start?
I started with the idea of Fables of Frost and Fur when I quit playing TTRPGs. Yeah,
excellent answer.
For a long time, I've been a DM for a while now, and both in person and online. And I try to be the best DM that I can be. This idea of what I think a good DM should be when you're providing this experience for your players. But at the time were my friends. Terrible call on my part. My friends are terrible, and I should not be playing D&D with them. And I started over COVID, listening and watching actual plays. And I noticed that in many actual plays, even the great ones, there were times when my interests always flagged at parts that just like took me out. Or took me out of the moment, like long out of character discussions, like sloggy combat, fumbling with math and dice, and everyone's energy not really matching the energy of the scene that you're supposed to be on, or scenes meandering forever when everyone should have agreed to just move on. And I thought, okay, what if I tried both in the way we played the game and the way we edited it to take it out, right? So Dimension 20 already kind of does this to a degree, and Worlds Beyond Number, I would argue, does it a lot more. But I thought, what if we just full sent it? And what if we just went all the way with this idea? Let's take some truly wonderful storytellers who can completely dive into character and think on their feet and give them this vision on how we want to play together. We want if someone to close their eyes, to think that they were listening to a movie, and to be blown away when we said, this is improv. None of this is scripted.
Yeah.
That's the vision of what we went with. And we found them, a castle-wide casting call, found some strangers that I've never worked with before, got 100% buy-in from everyone involved, and we just worked.
It's so interesting that this is like an interesting moment in like the history of actual play right now, because there's a lot of conversations. I know Jeff Stormer at Party of One is kind of spearheading this conversation of the spectrum of actual play between like pure fiction and like the between the fictional and non-fictional elements of actual play. Like shows, I think Dark Dice is probably on the furthest spectrum of like pure fiction. With the additional like post-production that you guys do, and then something I'm surprised to find myself, I might be at the furthest end in this group of like having the nonfiction elements as well of the out of character talk, still edited to various degrees and made like as listenable as possible. But there's an interesting spectrum of where shows land, but depending on how much of that like nonfiction out of character stuff is maintained. And I've found that it's surprising to me because my tastes tend towards more and more and more fiction and less and less and less nonfiction. I think Kenny calling out like Worlds Beyond Numbers is definitely like where my tastes start to trend towards. But there is an equal amount of people who really love this out of character stuff, which is surprising to see that there's this like big swath of taste out there for actual play. That's like people are just starting to find the vocabulary and words to really say what they like.
Yeah, Brian, I think you really hit the nail on the head. It's this dichotomy of like, why do people on like as a whole like actual plays? Is it watching a bunch of friends have a lark at a table and just be hysterical and like feel like you're a part of a friend group? Or is it being told a story? I think those two things in particular were what I was conflicted with when I came up with this project, where I said, what if we just fully committed? What happens? Like maybe people will hate it. Maybe people will be like, this is clearly scripted. Like you guys suck as an audio drama. Who knows? Like, let's just try it and see what happens. And, as it turned out, it scarred permanently my cast and I, because we can't play any other way anymore. It feels boring to us, and that's probably one of the best takeaways that I have from this experience. Apart from this panel, obviously.
Nice save, Kenny.
Yeah, it's interesting talking about that spectrum, because one of the things that we really tried to maintain is that the actual being at a table and rolling dice. Because when we record our episodes, we are sitting together at a table. We do it all in person, and because we were using a new system, the Avatar Legend system, which is based on Powered by the Apocalypse, we were learning the system at the same time as our audience was learning the system, and so a lot of our early audience were people who they'd just gotten the Kickstarter pack of the whole Avatar Legends box set, and they were like, how do I play this game? And so they found our show, and they were like, oh, it's actually really nice to, like, you can read the book and you can read the rule set and stuff, but hearing people actually play it, an actual play, I think a lot of our early listeners and stuff have really benefited from hearing us sort of being like, what's this rule? What do I do when I roll this? What do I add to this? Because, Dungeons and Dragons is it's a big thing now that a lot of people really just through osmosis kind of understand the mechanics of it, whereas other systems that are out there, people may not be as familiar with it. And so that's one of the things that we really tried to maintain, is keeping that feeling of we're learning the system as well. And 3 years in, we're kind of still learning the system sometimes, where we roll and we're like, do I add focus to this? Or but yeah, I think it's really interesting that it is this spectrum of people playing a game to the more definitely not scripted, but that audio drama and the high production values. And our editor Jesse, he does an amazing job of making it as cinematic as possible as well. And yeah, but we really try and keep a balance of us at the table learning the system and playing together, and making it an entertaining and cinematic show for our listeners and for us as well. Because listening back to it, once we've kind of had all our music and sound effects put in, is also really enjoyable for us, because we're like, that sounds so cool. We did that. Yeah.
So RahRah, you're on the different end of that sort of spectrum. Did you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty new to TTRPGs. The podcast is almost 2 years old. I probably played my first one 3 years ago, and ran games at home. But I'm from a poetry publishing type of background where open mics and telling fairy tales on stage and things like that. But I've never been in theater. I just did this as a burnt out beatnik who wanted to be a beatnik. And then we discovered TTRPGs. It was like, well, here's another avenue to tell stories. So just kind of started without knowing what existed. So when we put 28 people in a series, everyone's like, that's a weird thing to do. I'm like, oh, is it? I didn't know. And then we put 14 people in another one. They're like, you're still doing it. I'm like, well, what do you do? So if you've never heard The Heart is a Dungeon, it might be too much for some. It's very heavily soundscaped. We refer to it as the dark disco, which comes from years of psychedelic enjoyment. So it's very sad stories most of the time, very heavy on some of the trauma, but very purposeful in that too. And we try to handle sensitive topics with light hands. We recently had a 10 Candles that was, how do I phrase it on air? It was a cult that was locked into a bad mutual ending. And it ended up being so lovely and like a tender story that I really didn't see coming, to be fair. But we try to take on certain topics like that with a lot of intentionality, and very purposeful. But I'm a butcher with the editing. I will create games and then take out dice rolling just to leave the audience really confused. And that's kind of what we're doing over there. But we tend to have very large casts. There's only been a few series that only had like a table of 4. They go from 28 to 14 to 16 to numbers like that, because I just like that many characters.
There you go. Okay, this is really fascinating for me because my background, of course, is audio drama. It's not the actual play. So every time I come across this, I am always completely gobsmacked at what you have all built around this, whereas mine is probably a little bit more methodical. Even though other writers don't think that I am methodical with how I work, but this is just incredible. So if I posed a question to you, which was just passion or profit, you were given a choice, how would you go with your game? What would you choose? Would you choose passion? Would you choose profit?
I would choose yes.
That feels like
passion or profit.
Every
Yes, please.
day. Yeah. Passion every day for the hours that this requires, and the patience, in my opinion. But Heart is a Dungeon is very niche. We're not really looking to cast a wide net. We know we're for the kids that carried poetry books in their back pockets. Like, we know what we're there for. Anyone else outside of that likes it, that's just a plus. But we know we're niche within niche within niche.
And so what about, would you, I suppose it's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, we all do this because we love it. And is it possible to make it profitable without losing that creativity? There we go, straight away.
I was going to say, Full and Scholar is the people that ask the answer.
The way it exists, it's a really, 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 really tough role.
Profitable does not mean sustainingly profitable.
No, we just mean cover costs, really.
Cover costs, that can be done. I would say what we've seen, we've done some actual play stuff that wasn't D&D, but no one's heard of it because it wasn't D&D, and that was much harder for us to do. And we have friends who have actual play podcasts who are not D&D, and that's many ways can be a lot harder than going after the mainstreams of Cthulhu, 70, or D&D. If you're not one of the two larger games, it's like playing on a hard mode. It can be done. Anything can happen. You can certainly catch lightning in a bottle. It's tough, but it can be done. But the ones that are replicatable success, even Critical Role, had their own system, but they're still playing D&D because for them to profit, they don't want to risk it on a new system, even though it's their system that they've made, which is a great system by all measures. So for us, we found it is very difficult, even if you have like named people on your show that people have heard of in some countries, or if you have really cool composers, or really awesome sound effects and all the things, when they work together well and a great story and it all comes together, it's still really tough. But it can be done. It's just, oh my gosh, tough.
There's so many things that people can do when they reach a size as a podcast that allows them to make more profit. But it comes with selling off parts of your soul when you're saying, oh, well, we could change this, or we could write this in, or we could do an advertisement for something that we don't personally want to advertise. So we've taken profit hits to keep ourselves true to what we want to create. But then in turn, we have to put in a lot of extra time. I know some of you have already published or owned books as well, and you know that it takes so much time and so much love and so much energy. And even just running an individual Kickstarter to make a book, that can be profitable, but it is also its own sunk cost and its own time sink.
We also are very conscious. We make very intentional decisions with our shows. As Natalie was saying, like with inclusivity, we're like, people are going to hate this, but it's the right move, and we love it. And we think it's awesome. Let's do more of this. Let's put this in people's faces and have them walk a mile in someone else's shoes. And suddenly now they've never really encountered what it means to be gay. And oh, wow, this guy's gay. I didn't know that. He was just a dude, and now he's gay. This is a really interesting. I'm interested in his boyfriend. What's happening here? So like, we can use our platform to do what we want to do and be creative, as long as we're conscious of what we're doing. And I think there's a lot of room for everyone to succeed and all rise. But it is difficult to be profitable and continue and passionate and passionate.
Yeah. We always. When we give talks about podcasting, one of the things that we always say at the end is if it's no longer fun for you to make it, then don't make it. Because if you're not invested in the fun and the creativity and the parts that make you want to create something, then
a stable job would make more.
Yeah, it's not in it for the right reason.
I think
it
as
is
well.
Podcasting for the profit.
Yeah, my producer and I actually had a conversation with about this very frankly very early on, because he brought me on board and he was like, listen, I will pay for everything and we'll keep tabs on everything. If you want to contribute some expenses, great. I will never say no, but I view this as lost money. And I was like, okay, I'm glad we're honest about it, right? And if we happen to turn profitable or we happen to generate some revenue, fantastic. But we all came into it with the understanding that we wanted to make this. Yeah. We wanted to do this to see if we could, and we wanted to listen to our own show and enjoy it. And that's probably the priority number one, because the moment you don't want to listen to it after it's done, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
And trust me, the audience hears it too.
Yeah, I think they do. They're very good at picking up on those little nuances. Because I mean, if all you're doing is listening, then every pitch, every tone is like and this is where, yes, AI may make its way in, but it won't be able to get that nuance that every single bit of our speech can portray. Like the empathy that you get when you've got people talking, or the connection that you have with two voices. It's certainly not there yet. But if you're listening to podcasts, you can hear interactions that are unspoken through tone, and listeners can be very sensitive to that.
Yeah, and speaking of an audience, talking about profitability, like we had a conversation early on where it's already really challenging to compete for an audience's attention. There's so many amazing podcasts and so much amazing sort of entertainment and engaging content out there that for us, it's already such a boon when people decide to listen to our podcast. We're like, oh my God, thank you so much. And then we don't want to then also try and make it more difficult for people to access that through, because the cost of living is huge these days. And we want people to be able to access our show and have fun with us in a way that is sustainable for them as well. We early on, we experimented with the idea of putting in advertising into our show, but it was just very ham-fisted and didn't work. And our listeners actually reached out and they were like, we don't really like this. So we took it all out and we decided to organize a Patreon of like a $5 $5 tier of Patreon, which people can engage with if they choose. And if they do, we have additional content. It's never going to be, we've got our whole show. The whole show is going to be available for people to consume. But if you do want to support the show because you feel like that's something you really want to do, we offer additional things, extra episodes, behind the scenes stuff. And I think that's a really good way. It's definitely not profitable in terms of the costs that we put out, but we do find that audiences do want to support the show in some ways. And I think that is the way that we found really beneficial, is engaging with our audience, finding out what they want, and working with them rather than just being like, we could make some money if we put some advertising in, but it doesn't work for the listener. And I guess that's the point, is that we don't want to make things inaccessible for people who may not be able to afford it and just want to have fun.
I actually would love to talk in praise of advertising.
Yeah, cool.
Because I have a different view, because we've recently, the company that we own, manysidedmedia, has branched out to bring on, I think, 8 new shows into like a network. And part of the reason why we did that is that we could approach advertisers with kind of a larger amount of cumulative listens per month that we could potentially sell them. But the thing that we do is, rather than focusing on podcast advertisers like, I don't know, what's Bombas Socks or whatever, because all of our shows are focused on indie role-playing games, we go to indie role-playing producers and publishers. So like, when we do a season with the Wildsea, we're talking to MythWorks, or we're talking to publishers like right now Modifius, or Pocket Bard is like an app that allows you to do like immersive sound design at your table. And finding products and services and things that the listener actually is excited about has worked really well for us. And also, it has expanded our community of folks within the tabletop role-playing game sphere, because we're reaching out to them saying like, hey, we have an audience, like, where all of our shows are about indie role-playing games, which is, as RahRah was saying, a niche within a niche within a niche. And by approaching those people and saying like, hey, we have, X amount of people per month, like 35,000 people a month or something, saying, hey, I'm looking for more indie role-playing games. Let me put your ad in front of them. There are probably better ways to advertise. I'm certain that like backer kit ads will do better return on investment, but these are a lot of the people that are looking for this kind of stuff. So I have a more positive opinion on advertising, but I do think
it's like targeted advertising.
I think in order to do it in a way that feels positive and good throughout, is for the listener, because I as a listener hate advertisements as well. I hate when all of a sudden my favorite podcaster is talking about, I like Bombas socks, they're good socks, but like Bombas socks or whatever, or whatever. But if you take that extra time and do that extra effort, it is a lot harder. It is a lot less consistent. But we've gotten to a point where like we've found a pretty consistent flow of advertisers who we feel really passionate about, which has been really rewarding for us, like in the short term, of just finding ways to get little bits of money for shows that are smaller and wouldn't be able to really approach advertisers otherwise, and get them just a little bit of money. We're not making anyone rich, but we just had our first like payout for everyone, so everyone got some money. But just making it that little bit easier is really what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I think too, like, in terms of, what would you choose, back to the original question, like passion or profitability, I think you have to be able to oscillate. And for what like Travis and Kaitlin were saying, like, you don't want to sell out, right? And reach a point where you're just taking in money from whoever will give it to you, because your brand, especially in actual play, is really tied to your like authentic, as much as a parasocial relationship can be authentic, but like your authenticity really matters to your audience, right? Which is why when people start advertising for mattresses and toothbrushes and food kits, it's sort of like, oh, okay, they broke a barrier, so now they're going to start taking these corporate sponsorships. But there are other ways, and I think, Brian, your example is a great option of showing how like you might have to step back from the like creative side of things to figure out the profitability if you want to keep doing it, right? Because everyone's creativity under the like pressures of capitalism right now will eventually feel a little tired, and unless you start to see some return, whether it's audience engagement or, compliments from your friends or, some sort of money coming in, eventually it will be that thing of like, is this fun to make anymore when I have all this pressure of like, I keep losing money on it. I keep losing money on it when everything is so expensive. So for us, the solution we came up with was making merch, right? And figuring out what of our story could we turn into products that would appeal to a broad audience and pull people in. They don't know what the Storyteller Squad is about, but they love our trans Mothman character, Moth Girl, right? They love Sasquatch as a family guy going fishing with his kid. They love, you know, the Nightcrawlers as these little dudes amongst the trees, etc. And to a degree, like, you can find that thing that is maybe more profit oriented that you are also passionate about. My background is in illustration and you know, concept art, and so the designing and constructing of our products, like our plush and our pins and our artwork, etc., it lets me be an art director, which is a really fun role, and I get to work with so many different creators, you know, as well as working on stuff myself and coming back to my roots and being able to sit down and draw while listening to my stuff, while listening to other people's shows. And it gives me time to actually consume still the medium that I'm like producing for. A lot of, you know, creators will say like, oh, I don't have time to catch up on anything. And it's like, well, you got to make it if you want to be, you know, up to speed on what everyone else is doing. Like I can't wait to dive into some of the shows that, you know, I'm meeting the folks from here, and listen to what you guys do, because we learn from each other, and you can't do that unless you're exposed to it and make the time to be exposed to it. So yeah, I would say figure out what profitability strategy you can be passionate about, and then it really isn't a choice. It's just dedicating time and figuring out your time management a little bit that way.
And unfortunately, we're almost out of time. And I feel as though we could probably talk for a lot longer about a lot of different things. What I would
podcast? We just do a podcast altogether.
I'd love to do. I mean, you guys would be amazing as a group with all those different ideas. But I just really quickly, because I mean, we've got 2 minutes. Creativity is a form of resistance. Really quickly, Jay, do you want to start with that?
Do I want to start with it?
Well, you know, do you see creativity as a wonderful form of resistance?
Oh, certainly. The world is structured in a way that doesn't allow us time to rest and time to create. It only allows us time to work. And so any act of rebelling against that is important. And any act of doing that while pushing the boundary and including people who often don't have a platform to speak up on that kind of thing is important. So creativity is, I don't remember what you asked me to start with, but I agree.
No, it's really quite simple. It's like a yes or a no, really. But that, I mean, that's perfect.
Sure, yes. It's certainly yes. Yes is what I meant.
That was a very graceful answer that I would not have been able to do in a million years.
Yeah, that was really good on the spot, Jay.
Beautiful answer.
Thanks, I'm a podcaster.
So I think basically we're just going, what Jay said. That works really well. But I would like to thank you all so much for getting here across all the different time zones to have a chat about your incredible stories and what you do and how you do it. I think it's just amazing. All the links will be in the bottom of the show notes, and of course everybody can hop on nzwebfest.co.nz and register for through Humanitix to watch all and listen to all the amazing things that you do. But I just want to thank you, each and every single one of you and all your teams, because I think in days like this we really need your stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.